Welcome back to our Saturday Gamecast. Last week we finished Castlevania. Now we're going to continue with the game that started long ago in blog time, back in April when I was first learning to do this. It may have been the first video I made. The audio was really nasty on that first one, but this is the game Monster Party. I played level 1, the intro, in the previous video. I'll embed that in this blog post if you care to see the first level. When I finish this game, I will include the first level on the long play when this is all completed on the blog. This is the sewer level. There's several bosses we fight here in this one. Just like the first level doesn't have the cool tree level changing mechanic. This level starts to rely more on the batting targets around. Right now I'm farming for health. I've got that fish man gives me a heart every time I kill him, so I am just charging up my health. And there's a really annoying mechanic in this level and a lot of later levels where your bat is underpowered to kill these enemies, so they run into you if you're not really careful with hitting. So the fishmen take 3 baseball swings or 1 projectile. But the fishmen, it's usually pretty tough to get your 3 swings in before you get hit or have to jump back to avoid getting hit. So while we're farming for health, in real life in Dublin, we are getting ready for a big weekend. Sarah is going to a knitting conference on Saturday. We're going to do some shopping downtown. Earlier today, on Friday recording this, I put a fender on my bike on the front and back tires that I built out of some plastic that I salvaged from the recycling boxes. Here's the first boss of the second level. The, I don't know, Naga maybe? Throws little baby snakes at you with the very irritating attack sound. And so many of the bosses, as the game goes on, turn into things like that, where you just, there's no thinking, there's no real strategy, but just walk up and swing your bat as fast as you can. So I put the fender on the bike because I went to a job interview in the neighborhood of Tallock, which is 9 miles from where we live. On the way back from visiting the job interview, it started to rain, one of the deceptive rains that we get here in Dublin. The kind of turns into mist, and the mist persists and gets a little bit stronger of a mist, and finally it turns into something resembling rain, but it still doesn't feel like it's raining. And then before you know it, you are soaked to the skin. And luckily it happened on the way back from the job interview, so I didn't show up soaked to the interview riding my bike back. But once it had been raining, of course, the streets get wet, and then the bicycle tires start slinging nasty road water up onto your back. So I could feel my pants getting wet and gritty from the road, and everything was nasty. So rather than buying bicycle fenders for the tires, I went out and cut up a laundry detergent bottle and a milk jug into strips of plastic. And with some twist ties that I salvaged from bread bags and have been saving, passed those to the bike frame over the back and front tires. So now I don't have to worry anymore about getting nasty muck on my back. The weather is definitely starting to turn here into more fall-like weather. It's getting darker much earlier. The clouds are more persistent. But all of the Irish people told us we just got really lucky with this last summer being as sunny and warm and rain-free as it was. In fact, it was categorized as a drought when we first got here in July. This is a little bit more typical weather. There's an example of the fishmen taking 1 hit too many to take down. It's nice to have some challenge on enemies, but not when it's just an annoying thing. I don't mind challenging, it takes a little bit of skill, but not so much when it just becomes annoying. And this sewer level has a lot more false boss rooms than the first level, and those will pop up more later in the game too. the false boss rooms. So if you don't remember, when I collect the pill, I turn into the monster Bert. He's the monster who collects Mark, the protagonist, collects him from Earth to bring him to this world of monsters. So Bert comes and they fuse their bodies together. This is one of the classic bosses, fighting the fried food. This is a breaded shrimp with some alien pods in the background. This is the one that a lot of people remember from this game after the first level bosses, if they bothered to play to the second level, because this is not remembered as a very good game in the eyes of the retro game community. And the way to beat these guys if you don't have Bert, duck down, because like a lot of bosses that bounce around, you're immune when you're laying down on the floor. Projectiles can still hurt you on the floor, but a lot of bosses won't if you're laying on the floor. So I beat the breaded shrimp. Now it's the onion ring, and the same strategy. It moves in the same pattern. Duck down and get right behind it and get your swings in. So sometimes you notice I miss the jump. Part of that's using my USB emulator controller. The controls aren't quite as tight as they would be on the NES. So sadly, I'm not playing this on a real NES controller. I did find a retro gaming community exists here in Dublin. There's a store that sells records and retro games is what they deal in. Sadly, I can't really give them my patronage because I don't have a TV and I don't have the European systems to play them on. But I saw on their Facebook page people were leaving messages about old games. They had contests and things around those old games, so that might be a way to establish some connections. The store is called the Rage. The records. Now, the R stands for Records and Rage. I don't remember what the rest of the name was. So no key yet. I believe there's one more boss before we get our key. And this level's quite linear, as are most of the levels in this game. In fact, all but the last two are pretty much straight lines. The only obstacles are enemies. Also, last week I went to a free Magic the Gathering collectible card game tournament. I hadn't played Magic for a long, long time, but there was an international event celebrating, I think, a 20th anniversary of Magic the Gathering card game, where game stores or tournament locations were giving out a deck of Magic cards with a booster pack. You got to play a few games with some strangers. You had a scorecard you had to turn in. And if you turned in that scorecard after having played 3 games, you got another booster pack. So, for free, I got 30 card decks and then 2 15 card packs. That normally would have cost more than $20 probably. Magic was pretty expensive when I used to play it. And of course the price has only gone up since then. Funnily, I had to sign up to be a registered Magic tournament player. It was a free registration, but in order to participate in this, I had to have the registration number with the governing body of the Magic tournament people. So I assume my statistics from the day, I went one for 3 in the games I played. I assume that those statistics got entered into the database for competitive Magic players, wherever that database lives. And so I'm on the books, I guess. I don't know if I could get back into Magic. Being as cheap as I am today, it's hard to stay current on that. So the Wishing Well wants to do some damage by throwing, I believe they're plates, but I am not sure what the logic is here. Not that there needs to be logic. This is the level where we fought the fried food bosses. But the well with the purple flames around it, or maybe they're eggplants. Eggplants are called aubergines here in Europe, by the way. In Ireland, it's probably the French name for them. So, third boss defeated. We have our key, and now it's just a straight shot out to the end. So another example of just some irritating level design with the same enemies, the same thing, over and over and over. Another annoying fishman you have to hit, back up, and hit twice more. But as we make our way out, next week I'm hoping to have some job news by the time we get to next week's game cast. We shall see how things work out. In the meantime, I hope everyone back home and around the world has a good week.